Hey guys, it's Scott, and we're back for another entry in the Character Design Monster Lab. Last time we went through the ideation process, where I brainstormed a bunch of potential ideas based on pop culture archetypes that I wanted to build off of for my army of pumpkin-headed harvestmen. Go check that video out if you haven't. This time, we're going to take one of those designs and zero in on it to figure out some details. In the full course, I take 5 of those designs from the ideation phase and flesh them out before I scan them and bring them into the computer, where I develop them further into a finalized lineup that I could turn into a poster print. To see the full process, follow along, and submit your own harvestmen for critique, go to proko.com/monsterlab. Okay, good luck, have fun, see you soon. Okay, so I've done my initial rehearsal with my harvestman character, and you can see an example of how that played out here. And I really got to about like 75% coverage on this page. And I did the majority of it before we actually started to record this course. And that was just me like actually trying to rehearse in preparation to be able to do a good job on this. And but I wanted to show that to you and not like hide it. Like I actually spent time trying to get in the zone. Some of the better ones that showed up on here later, I'd say like this guy right here is kind of fun. This guy right here is kind of fun. This guy I like a lot right here with the triple heads. This dude over here with the pauldron's kind of cool. This guy right here is kind of interesting. These guys all came about after I'd actually began to dive into the like real designing phase or idea generation phase. And that's right here. We spent an hour or two really just generating prompts. Like we had an initial idea of the word harvestman, but that doesn't tell you a lot. And I wanted to come up with some genuinely unique takes on that prompt. So we spent some time doing that. And we came up with this idea of like an eton or a construct, the idea of the pumpkin patch, the big mutated asymmetrical arm with all the farm weapons embedded in it, the idea of Pumpkinstein, the kind of Frankenstein trope, the like more square head, the big bolts, the big tanky muscular body with all the stitches on it. And that could be interesting with like the green. Something about like stitching vines together could look interesting. We explored the highwayman angle for a headless horseman, the asymmetrical like drooping head with the big massive like world record pumpkin, the harvest lich over here with the white pumpkin and the scythe and the cobwebs and the corn cob husks. We explored the idea of the scarecrow standard projecting out of the back, and then these little baby pumpkin little minions or sidekicks. So when we got to this page, we actually started to get to some more unique angles. These are cool iterations, but these are a little bit shallow from my perspective. These are just iterations on one theme, more or less. For here, we start to like branch off into more unique or interesting like sub-themes. And what we're going to do today is take some time to explore those even further. Now, this is actually representative of the way I would do this if I was on the job and if left to my own devices when I get to choose. And if I'm working with a client that is, that trusts me to do my job, I will make sure I take the time to go through a process just like this. And it usually will equate to like 1 or 2 sessions of drawing, like just some paper before I even get onto the computer. So that could be anywhere from like 8 to 12 hours of just like basically 2 days of work of thinking and drawing to generate a wide range of ideas. Okay, so now we're going to take some time to really focus in on these prompts we generated yesterday. And those were, let's start off again, we're going to write down Monstober Monster Lab. Let's call this Harvest Hulk. I think it's one right now I'm currently using that name to identify my like eton guy. I'm just going to write a little note down here. He's my asymmetrical eton construct. That's one that I'm going to do. Then I like the Highwayman, Headless Horseman angle. Then Pumpkinstein. Maybe the Lich. The Lich is pretty, yeah, okay, I'll write it down. We'll see if I get to it. The Harvest Lich, the white pumpkin undead fella. And then the little pumpkin babies, little pumpkins. Yeah, I like that, like a punk. Those are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, I like that. Okay, cool. I get to 5. I usually like to work in odds with character groups. It's like a set of 3 or 5 or 7. It's just kind of a rule, like some logic I use for myself. It helps reassure me that I'm on the right path in terms of following my own process or staying true to my own process. That actually helps me retain my confidence as I move forward. It helps me keep my eye on the prize. So I got 5 here. That's cool. Now you'll notice initially, a lot of the drawings I was doing the first day, most of these were pretty small. Some of them got larger and are more representative of the kind of standard, regular way I iterate. But initially, the really tiny ones, they were really just little visual notations. That's all they were. It was just remember, he's big and he's got a lot of pumpkins on top of his back. But now I'm going to dive a little bit deeper and get into specifics. How many pumpkins are on his back? What are the expressions on each of the pumpkins? What kind of farm tools are embedded in the arm? This stuff becomes really important. This is where you make more definitive, hard decisions on your shapes. So we're going to start with our Harvest Hulk. You may ask, why do you spend all this time drawing it in pencil if you could hypothetically just do it on the computer? The answer would be that I don't think I can do it as well on the computer. This kind of thing, when it really comes to gesture drawing, most of the actual hand-eye coordination that I've built up over the last, decade or so or whatever or more was done gesture drawing, drawing from imagination this way in my sketchbooks. It's these same kind of movements, with a pencil. And it's not that you couldn't do it. You totally could do it digitally, but I'm just kind of being honest with myself that most of my experience is using an analog tool. I'm comfortable using it. I like using it. It makes me feel relaxed. I like having something physical to show for myself. I don't like looking at a screen all the time. There's a number of variables that make me prefer doing it this way. It doesn't mean that it is the right way to do it. There's some students I know now working with students at LCAD and, mentorships and stuff, they've grown up using their digital tools, drawing with their Bamboo and their iPad Pro and all that stuff. And it's kind of a trip for me. It's really interesting because that just didn't exist. When I was younger, this stuff didn't come out until I was in college. It's like a dream. You can draw on a computer. What? And now that's the kind of stuff we got. But I still feel that basically I get the better results when I'm drawing in pencil. Just my muscle memory is working more naturally. I know when I'm laying in figures, it's way more comfortable when I'm in pencil. I could do it on the computer, but it's going to be more cleanup, more flipping canvas, more adjusting proportions. I can do it, but I know if I do this, if I just take the time to slow down, use the skills I've earned, then I can use those, transfer them on a computer, and make the process go way faster. It's just that sometimes doing it on the computer in that way is actually fun to watch. You see something, it makes for entertainment. You lay it in, it's like magic happened, and then you adjust it and all that stuff. But again, that's entertainment, that's not design. We're focusing on design right now. So now, if you remember yesterday or earlier when I was drawing, working on the arms, I was treating them just very simply, very minimal, just big lumps. But I know, for me, that was a shorthand. I know it's just going to be a big lump or a mass of entangled pumpkin vines. So now as I'm making progress towards really understanding exactly what's going on with my character shapes, I'm thinking that through a little more. So you notice in this iteration on this big vine arm, I'm starting to actually just slow down and show these vines wrapping around in space a little bit. And I start to suggest this sort of intertwining musculature. It's a bit of a suggestion of that, some muscles of the deltoids coming across in the chest. So I've rolled one of the pumpkin's heads forward onto the body, or projecting out. You get that kind of ogre shoulders, troll shoulders, big hunched over vibe. And that one I'm going to make a cyclops. And this other one I'm going to have kind of sitting back just behind the traps, back behind here on the shoulders, almost it's perched just back here, at the top of the shoulder blade or something. Maybe that one is, where's it looking? Let's see here. Where I want its head. Not looking from behind, kind of squash. It's one of the goofier faces that would be on here. And this other one is looking off. I want to bring another vine, get that sickle shape. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so in this case, I don't know, maybe I'll go a little bit simpler. I'll just have the one scythe shape, the one sickle. That's kind of interesting. So it's at the end of that long intertwining whip. Part of what I'm doing now is just taking time, slowing down to think through the shapes a little bit more, being a little more thorough. So then when I take this to the computer, really all I have to do, it's more transferring it. You'll see, the recent demo or the demo I did for Lightbox, I mentioned the idea of designing from abstraction. And that could be fun to watch. But a lot of work actually had to be done, right there in Photoshop because I hadn't taken time to think through what the hell I was doing. I still got to a cool product, an interesting series of shapes or creature, but it's pretty different than what I'm doing right now. Now when I go to the computer, there still will be some silhouette kit bashing and some further exploration, opportunity to push things when I go to Photoshop. But the goal is to try to front load all the design work here onto paper to solve as much as I can. So when I go to the next step, it's kind of easy and fast actually. I may even start to do like a tiny bit of modeling on my drawings. That there's so much I haven't really done any of. We'll see. I'm going to definitely start to lay in some shadow shapes consistently across every sketch. And I'm starting to do a little bit more like earlier I was just basically filling the whole character to speed up and so I could assess the shapes. Or now I'm going to spend a little more time like considering local values. So like I'm going to let my pumpkins pop, let the eyes pop. There'll be some, clear differentiation between the midtones and the shadow shapes. Okay, so there's a cool take on, I like that one. That one's kind of fun, nice and simple. There were some interesting explorations earlier, but part of them, like some of them where I started to stack up too many elements. To me, they felt kind of noisy, like this one, for example. This is like too many visual hooks. Scarecrow's cool, but Scarecrow with scythe? Scarecrow with scythe with crow on top? With pumpkin patch head? With asymmetrical tool embedded arm? With baby pumpkin guy? It just starts to get to a place where like the signal is getting lost or it's getting a bit noisy. And I'm sort of like, gonna say blowing my load. I'm sort of like spending all my design currency. I've got like a bunch of these cool hooks and I'm blowing them all in, one transaction, like investing them all in one character. And like that's, maybe that works. It could work. It's not like bad looking, but it's not quite, it doesn't suit my preferences. What I'd rather do is take a couple of those really strong visual hooks and isolate them, for potential iterations. And that's useful for games because you need DLC. So I could take one, it's like, okay, one of these guys has the baby minions. One of them is like the one with the scarecrow coming out the back. One of them is the one with the pumpkin patch pack. And I can get like a little more bang for my buck potentially. It really does just depend. It's a fine line to walk to decide and it also depends on the kind of title or project you're working on. Is this meant to be highly realistic? Is this going to be really stylized? Is this a game where we're prioritizing lots of visual interest, like a high density of shapes and textures? I'd say maybe a game like a roguelike. A lot of the really popular roguelikes right now, or roguelite or roguelike. People say both. Okay, roguelike or roguelite. That's in a lot of the ones that are popular right now. There's a lot more detail, like higher fidelity shapes, more negative space in a tattered cape, more projections coming out of a crown or a weapon. The monsters, the higher fidelity of shape detail, lots of crazy skulls and spikes projecting out all over the backs. That can be really cool. It's not my personal preference for design. I'm just a little more interested in stuff that's a little bit simpler, almost childlike, like a toy. So that's what I'm going to start to hone in on here, is like really pull things into alignment with my sensibilities and the way I would actually execute on it, as opposed to some of these earlier ones where I was just like going wild and trying all kinds of crazy stuff. Now I'm going to come in and like curate a little bit more, or like really make some hard decisions. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you want to see me develop more of my Harvestmen, you can follow along at proko.com/monsterlab. All right, take care, and I'll see you there. Bye-bye. Monster Lab!